Been contemplating. So when I'm going to be debating the Sabbath against Ryan the Presbyterian in a couple weeks, and how to approach a debate where so many people have already decided they know what the Bible is teaching on this, and they don't look at history, or they read the Bible just at a glance and think, "Oh, that's so obvious." If you think Second Colossians does away with the weekly Sabbath because it says Sabbath in there and it wears shadows of things to come, and you think that was the shadow, and just at a casual glance, that seems to be right. I'll just remind you that it also seems to be right that God creates evil. I mean, the Bible just says, it says, I create the light and the dark. I create evil. But it's frustrating when people use that as a gotcha, isn't it? Because there's a context to what's being said there. And there's semantic range to the word evil. Just like, or how about in Romans? God hates Esau. Is that really what it means? That God chose Esau to be a fuel for an eternal burning fire? Or it says, look, the smoke of their torment goes up forever and ever. Obviously, this imagery means that they're going to be tortured on fire forever. And we can just ignore all of the other passages and the theology of the Bible and just say, oh, obviously, there's no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. I said the words, I'm going to heaven no matter what. Anybody who says otherwise is going to burn in hell forever. This is where burnt nut Christianity comes from. So just remember that. So how to approach Colossians 2 in a limited time period of debate? Well, the careful Bible student has to do their due diligence. I would suggest that the basic moral commands of God are not something to be done away with, just in obvious logical thinking. You don't need to afford a day off to those who are your household, or in your household. Think about that. Did God do away with the blessing of the Sabbath because Jesus is your rest now? Now he can do away with the dirty old Jew law that was holding us back. That's not what the Bible teaches. The Bible doesn't teach that Jesus did away with moral commands because they were a burden. His commandments are not burdensome. So if you see the Sabbath as a yoke, you're missing the point. Okay? I didn't put the Sabbath commandment as a blessing in the 10 Commandments. God did. Okay? If you think you can dispense with having a day off every week to refresh yourself after working 6 days and then resting one day, if you think that you don't need that, good luck with that. But if you see the Sabbath as a burden, you're already missing the point. Can Paul do away with the law of God by your misreading? All my Hebrew roots friends would say I'm being a hypocrite. But am I really a hypocrite if I say the things that were implemented to allow them to come near to God, which Jesus fulfills? The Sabbath was instituted at creation before there was a fall, before there was a need for a Messiah in the world yet. There was no fall. It was a blessing given to man while he was in perfect harmony with God. That day was declared holy. But does the temple services, where they do sacrifices and offerings to come near to God, which the New Testament says Jesus brought the wall of separation down, those appointed times had Sabbaths within them. Are you sure the offerings, the food and drink offerings, which were a shadow of things to come? How can the Sabbath be a shadow if it's implemented before there was the need for a Messiah in the world? Is that a shadow? Is needing a day off every week, affording a day off to everyone within your gate and your animals, do they not need a day off anymore? Are you not supposed to work 6 days and then take a day off? Is that done away with? So we don't have to work anymore? Just got to think logically here, people. There's a system of laws that were implemented to deal with sin, and they had Sabbaths associated with them. And when you look up the context of what he's talking about in the Old Testament, it's talking about the temple service and the appointed times where you had to go to Jerusalem as a pilgrimage. The weekly Sabbath is kept anywhere, wherever you are, in captivity or not. You can't keep those other things for atonement, which were shadows of Jesus. The weekly Sabbath is not a shadow. It's a memorial of creation, and it pre-exists the need for a Messiah in the world. We know God foresaw it, but God doesn't implement things until they're needed. He doesn't destroy sinners before their sin. This isn't Minority Report. So you're welcome to pretend like there's not a context to Colossians 2, and you're welcome to ignore the blessings of God that were commanded from the very beginning. But I don't want to hear you appealing to creation for marriage rules and then picking and choosing and saying it was established at creation, between a man and a woman, and then either have no Sabbath or, I don't know, I guess I'd call it a gay Sabbath if you're anti homosexuals, right? Because of creation. I guess Sunday Sabbath would be like a gay Sabbath, because it's not the same Sabbath from the creation, like the marriage between a man and a woman. If you're going to appeal to creation for marriage, I'm going to appeal to it for the Sabbath, which is a blessing that you're missing out on. So have fun with that.